and welcome to Deaf Awareness Month. I have no idea if you could see that in the frame. My ring light covers my viewfinder now. So today we're going to talk about transitioning from oralism to ASL, or, you know, basically if you live in a different country and you're doing that little transitioning phase, insert your language here. For the record, yes, I'm going to be talking in this video because that's what I'm used to. I'm going to get more into that later. If you are new, I am a mainstream deaf child to adult. What? If you don't know what that means, because I know some people have been like, LOL, mainstream, what the heck are you talking about? It's a phrase that those of us who are in the deaf community call it, as in, say, whether you were born this way or what. This is not a Lady Gaga reference. Whether you were born this way or whatever. Basically, if you were raised orally, so instead of using sign language, you just talked, like as I am now, then there you go. You know, you went to a public school instead of a deaf school or a deaf institute. You were just basically surrounded by hearing people all your life. That's basically what it means. It's not a bad thing by any means. It's just, it was an easier way for us to kind of, you know, differentiate between the two. And because I know somebody's gonna say it, you talk well for a deaf person, this is so inspiring. I've been talking since babies talk. Honestly, it's nothing special. And I know people try to mean it as a compliment, but it sounds like a backhanded compliment to the next deaf person who isn't oral at all. It's kind of a weird thing. I'm not bad about it. It's just, it's kind of a cringeworthy moment, and I scratched my butt and pick my nose. I've been doing this since I was 2. I grew up probably hearing and then hard of hearing. It's just, I got bigger things to be an inspiration for, you know? Do you get that? Anyway, moving on. I was diagnosed with hearing loss at 12 years old. There's a big old chance that I had hearing loss earlier, that I was hard of hearing before. As a child, you don't really pay attention to that stuff. A person whose vagina I was born out of, the person who has been abusive throughout my entire life, most of my childhood and all of that, she is deaf. She is also mainstream, so that is a big major reason why I was also mainstream. Because if your parents don't sign, then also my dad is hearing, so my hearing loss is genetic. Now, 95% of deaf kids are born to hearing parents, therefore more deaf kids are mainstream than they are learning ASL. It's not, I'm going to stab you, this is a horrible thing, but it's been, that's just the way it's been. I never went to a deaf school even after I was diagnosed. I qualified for a hearing aid at the time, but they were too expensive and I never got them. No, I have no interest in getting a cochlear implant, and I'm so used to hearing aids, I don't feel like I need them. And I hate things in my ears for so long. I can't even have earphones in. Like, I mean, my philosophy is, if you don't want to put in part of the work to communicate with me, if you can't meet with me halfway when I, you know, try my best, then what's the point of me trying to spend $5,000 for you? Anyways, I went to a public school. There was a North Carolina school for the deaf, but I don't know, I never went. My dad was like, no. We've had deaf people come up to our door and offer sign language classes. My dad said no. Didn't even, you know, confront me or anything, just went, no. I did everything. I grew up as a hearing person, just put it that way. So I knew no sign language, even like 8 years ago or something. I remember I tried to learn some basics. I knew the alphabet, I had some flashcards, but I never kept up with it because I didn't know any other deaf person. Abusive person doesn't count, they don't sign, and I don't like them. We don't like each other. It took so long. I am 25 years old. I didn't find anything about a deaf community until 22, 21, something like that. It was on Tumblr. And so my deaf culture, my deaf identity was just, it was all like on Tumblr. It was all on the internet, and I still didn't know that much about it. So I did my first deaf video, right? 2014. So when I did my first deaf video, I've been talking, and most of my videos I've been talking. It's just, yeah, no, you can't go in my nose. It's very hard to explain this thing, I don't know. But I grew up mainstream, I grew up oral. English is my first language. I've been talking out of my mouth and out of my ass for as long as I've been alive. I'm basically like a hearing kid in a deaf person's body almost. Or at least that's how I was raised. I mean, my identity is obviously shifted, which we'll get into that later. But, so finally, after, you know, a couple of years of kind of going back and forth between ASL in English or thinking about, learning ASL. Finally, I got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna do this. And that was about a year and a half ago when I went to LA in last March in 2015. I did learn some stuff before that, obviously, but let's put it this way, I've been learning the language for the past year and a half, and if you look at my previous video, or 2 previous videos, I do a whole ASL vlog, and I don't do a lot of them because, well, not yet, I don't do a lot of them because it's very difficult. I am very awkward. It's easier for me to talk on camera. Like I said, I grew up with English, right? So it's just easier to express myself that way right now. When I'm signing in person, it's not very difficult for me unless I'm in a group and then I have no idea what's going on. Basically, language barriers is what it is. But with videos, it's much harder. And one, it's like I have like thousands of people that are watching my every move when I'm doing this kind of thing. And there have been, I see these comments. I remember one person, we're on pretty okay terms now. Like, we're not best buddies, but, I unmuted him from Twitter. Anyways, I remember I got his tweet a long time ago that somebody was telling me that I was ashamed for being deaf because I wasn't signing in my videos, which angered me because no, I'm not ashamed. If you were to talk to me when I was in middle school, high school, yeah, the answer would have been yes. I was kind of ashamed for it because nobody I knew was deaf, so I felt like the odd kid out. I felt like there was something wrong with me. But just because I've been scared to do videos does not mean that I was ashamed of being deaf. If I was ashamed, I wouldn't have been doing videos for so long about this stuff. You get it? So it made me upset, and like this is a conversation that had been happening between a lot of like what you would call elitist people every once in a while, and stuff that I would get on Tumblr, and it's like, oh my god, you're not signing at all, and basically anything that you can think of that was negative about the fact that I wasn't signing, and it's because it's difficult. Listen, I studied Mandarin for 4 years, but just because I was studying that for much longer than I was studying ASL, that doesn't mean I'm going to do a video in Mandarin. I can't do that now. Like, I forgot almost everything in Mandarin, but I had to get to a point. I still had to get to a point where I'm comfortable because I don't want to give a video that's all fingerspelled. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable enough knowing what vocabulary I needed for a video, comfortable being on video at all because my signing in video is still very awkward. But yeah, that's basically the way it is. It was just one of those things where I wanted to build up my vocabulary more and know a little more, be a little more smooth in signing before I did anything. My conversation, I sign to my deaf friends all the time. We have conversations all the time, but everyday conversations is different than the videos that I'm making. So my knowledge and vocabulary is going to be a lot different. But I can say that I have some videos planned that are going to be in ASL. The one that I just did, and then one that's going to be premiered at Buffer, and then it's going to be on YouTube later. It has to go to Buffer first and be premiered there. If you were to ask me, I know somebody's going to ask me, is there at one point where you're going to be like completely voice off? Probably not, because I live in 2 worlds. I live in a dominantly hearing world, and I also have this little, deaf world. I have a lot of friends who are hearing, and then friends who are deaf. My entire family, granted I don't talk to them, but the one thing that I would at least hope is, my friends and I, we would meet halfway. Business partners, we would meet halfway. I mean, here's the thing, if somebody were to write to me, I'll talk back. Like I will do the way you communicate, and then if you can like meet me halfway with like a mixture of all sorts of things, that would be awesome. Actually, this is something that's kind of funny. There's a meme somewhere on the internet that says, it's like you got a picture of a skeleton and they're looking out the window and it says something like, waiting for my hearing friends and family to learn sign language, which is funny. Some hearing people may kind of be like, but it's kind of like a thing where it's like, I don't expect my hearing friends to be like 100% fluent in 2 weeks. I don't expect them to want to become fluent signing masterminds. I always dream of the day that it would be like being able to work or meet halfway without like having to constantly ask for it. Like I still have friends who know, hey, I'm deaf, and then I will try to like, I don't know what they're saying, like if we're at parties or something, and I'm like, can you like type that because it's very loud, it's very dark in here, and then they just don't, or if I say what again and like, never mind, and I'm like, are you really, you're like, you're supposed to be my friend, like I'm your friend. If you needed something I would help you, meet halfway, you know, or like spell a word, finger spell a word, you know, like anything. Like this is 2016. We have phones, we text our friends, but there's one thing that always makes me feel like I want to be voice off, and that is when somebody goes, "Oh my God, you talk so well." Like I literally got a comment a couple of days ago that says, "You talking made my day because I have a deaf aunt." And I go, wait, so if I was voice off, what would that make you? Would you be sad? And they go, yeah, I would be very sad if you decided that you weren't going to talk anymore. And I was like, what? Can I ask you how you treat your deaf aunt? Does she sign? I'm assuming she signs if she's not oral. It's just, I know people try to say you sound good. By the way, you sound well for a deaf person. But it's just kind of like a backhanded compliment. Not everybody is gonna feel the same way. Shout out to that one other person in my comments from before. Some people aren't gonna care. At the very least, if you're gonna say something like that, could you not say that you're very sad? You would be very sad if I decided I wasn't gonna talk anymore? Like, I just feel like that's kind of like a slap in the face to other deaf people. You know what I mean? I'm trying to say this in the best way possible because people don't seem to understand why it can be an issue to say something like that. I guess it also helps if I say to research Alexander Graham Bell, which there will be a video on him eventually. Probably not for this month because there's so much research that has to go into it, but eventually. But like the history with oralism and how they were teaching deaf kids to speak, it's not a happy thing. It didn't happen in a good way, and I think that's the problem, which isn't people's fault because they don't teach this kind of stuff. It's so difficult, it's so frustrating. So one of these, I don't ever see myself being completely voiced off just because of that fact. I live in two worlds. Well, eventually I eventually do more videos that are just ASL. Oh yeah, but I don't, and nobody would like the feeling. I don't like the feeling of being pressured into doing it or feeling rushed because it's a very scary thing. And I don't want to like feel so pressured into doing it because then people will see that in the video and it's not a fun time. That's kind of what I wish that some people in the deaf community would understand too, is that this isn't something that you can just jump into. It's very difficult when you've spent 2 decades in one world. And this is gonna be more suitable for the next video I have. But it's difficult. Very difficult. Hopefully this made some sense. I feel like this kind of went into a bunch of places. I haven't planned this, but personal videos don't always get planned. If you want to follow me on all my social media, links to that will be down below. If you want to support me monthly on Patreon, link to that will also be down below. You get some presents, some letters, you know, fun stuff, and it helps me out with stuff that I need for YouTube and other business purposes. I upload every Monday and Thursday unless otherwise stated, and I will see you later. Bye!